Today we're going to be going over setting up Pro-Till in the field for the first time. The Pro-Tills that we're going to be focusing on are the 20-foot and the 26-foot. Some things that we'll be showing you how to set for when you go to the field is your depth stops, your shield, your gauge wheels, and then you'll be ready to go to the field. After you have the Pro-Till hooked up to the tractor, you need to hook up your hydraulics. We've labeled the hydraulics on our hydraulic tree with which position they're supposed to go into on the tractor. So you open up the tree, grab the ones that say depth, which will control your depth control, plugging those into the hydraulics. Usually on tractors, they're color coded also with the correct hydraulics. And then you move on to the wings, which is lever 2 or hydraulic circuit 2. The transport cylinders are usually go into the brown one or lever 3. And the last one is your jack control. If you have 4 hydraulics, you can plug it in to the 4th one. And then lastly is your light controls for going down the road. You have your blinkers and flashers available then. So that's hooking up the hydraulics of the Pro-Till to the tractor. I usually put them all the positives on the left side and negatives on the right side, and then I adjust it after that if my lever controls are working in the correct direction that I want them to when I'm running the Pro-Till. So after you have the Pro-Till opened up and laying on the ground, you want to find where 0 is, and 0 being when your discs are just touching the ground. And how that's done is you take the depth stops and put them all in, so that you know that that should be pretty close to where 0 is. Each one of these depth stops equals about a 1/2 inch. If you pull them out, they go down. If you put them in, the machine's depth comes up. There's 4 different spots to set that, to adjust these, and 3 of them are on the left side, 1 is on the right side. So after you have them all in, then you go back to the tractor to lower them to the ground and make sure your discs are all touching at the same time. So on the hydraulics, usually your operation of the Pro-Till is lever 1 puts your discs in and out of the ground. Lever 2 runs your wings up and down. There's 2 positions you can run your hydraulics in. First one is constant pressure. Second position is float. Lever 3 is for your transport cylinders, and those are always ran in float, which it should click over to stay in that position. On your tractor monitors, you should have a squiggly line underneath a cylinder showing that it's in float. Usually if there's a C, it's in constant, and if there's nothing, it's in neutral. So once I have all the depth stops in, I'm going to put levers 2 and 3, which is your wing cylinders and your transport cylinders, into float. The reason I'm doing this is I'm going to drive forward a little bit, and the Pro-Till should level out. As you could see here, the disc blades, front row and back row, are both touching the ground at the same time. Ensuring that they're both touching at the same time is going to give you a better chance of cutting level from front to back in the field. Once you've found where 0 is on your Pro-Till, you'll want to raise the machine back up so you can start taking depth stops out to know how deep you're going to be going into the ground. So push in the blue button, pull the locking pin out, and start removing depth stops. Each depth stop is equal to about a 1/2 inch. So you pull out 2 is 1 inch, 4 is 2 inches, 6 is 3 inches. And to replace it, you always want to push this blue button in because there's balls on the end that lock it into place to push it, and it should be locked. You pull on it, it should be locked in there. So after you've pulled the Pro Till through the field slowly to get the disc blades to sink into the ground, you need to check, get out of the tractor, come and check your depth on your disc blades, and you simply do that by wiping some dirt away on the back side of the blades. That's the easiest way to check your depth. See if it's going as deep as you want. If you want it to go deeper, pull depth stops out in all 4 spots. If you want it to go shallower, put depth stops in. Really, you only need to do it at a 1/2 inch at a time or 1 depth stop. And you want to check both rows. So after you've checked at the disc blades, you want to come out behind the machine a little ways, and you're just going to wipe away some dirt and just make sure that in the disc tracks that you're going to the depth you want. You are going to have disc tracks going slow, and that's just the nature. So you will have to go over the area again when you start going at the speed. You just want to check and see that you're going to a depth that you're wanting to achieve. So after you have your initial depth set, you want to put your wings into constant pressure, and then you're going to want to visually check the wing pressure gauge that we have here to make sure that it's right around 1,000 psi. We preset it from the factory at 1,100 psi, which is usually really good, but there may have to be adjustments made. To make the adjustments on your pressure gauge is you need to take the tractor out of constant pressure, but then there's a jam nut that you loosen up. Then you take your Allen wrench and turn the plunger valve one way or the other to adjust your pressure. So the next thing that we're going to set is our soil deflector. What you want to do is you want to drive up to an area in the field and stop. Leave the discs in the ground so you know where your cutting depth is, and then we can come and adjust the soil deflector. It's a 6-way adjustable deflector. Adjustable fore and aft on the Pro Till, in and out, and the deflector itself is adjustable up and down. One thing to make sure of while you're doing the adjustments is the tail end of the deflector, you want it to be bringing the dirt back around and getting underneath the roller and back, whether you have the bar roller like this or the rubber roller. That's an option that we have. The purpose of this shield is to take the dirt from the front row disc that's throwing it out. The shield's trying to catch that and bring it around to fill in the groove made by this outside right disc. When you're making passes through the field, you're matching up right sides when you're going down and back. The purpose of the shield is to catch the dirt that's coming off of this front row disc. The dirt comes flying off of it into the shield, and the shield brings it back around to fill in the trench that's being cut. To make the vertical adjustments on the soil deflector, you need to have a 1 1/8" wrench, 1 1/8" battery impact. What you do is you loosen up the nuts, and the shield should fall down to the ground on its own. What I have done to help me out, because I'm usually in the field by myself, is I have a double stacked 2x4 and a single, and what I do is I put the single one at the back of the shield and the double in the front, because you want the shield running uphill a little bit. And that's just to help me get it set to how I want it. And then I usually have the wrench out just to give it another little turn to make sure that they're tight. So that's how what you're wanting to do is you want this shield to be running just above the ground. You don't want it creating its own furrow. To make the fore and aft adjustments of the soil deflector, that's done by loosening up these bolts on the outside here. The nut is already there's a keeper in there of the nuts, so all you have to do is loosen up the top of this, and you can slide it back and forth depending on what you're thinking needs to be done. To adjust the in and out of the soil deflector, it's done by pulling the cotter key on the back side, pulling the pin out, making your adjustments in and out. When you're done with that, just replace the pin and the cotter key, and you should be all set. Mounted on the machine, we've provided a wrench, a double-ended wrench. There's two sizes. The large size is for adjusting the manufacturing tolerance adjustments that we have here. The other side is for adjusting the shield if you happen to forget to bring a wrench with you to the field or a battery impact. On every Pro Till, up by the hitch, is a operator's manual box. Inside of here we have a quick start guide. Goes over what each hydraulic hose set is supposed to be doing on one side. On the other side, it goes through a lot of the settings that we went over today. Also is the operator and parts manual. This goes more into detail of how to adjust settings if things are going on in the field, like maybe the machine's skewing one way or the other. Goes over how to adjust that and check for those type of issues. So that comes with every Pro Till, and it's on there. What I'd suggest everybody do on the back of the manual is write your serial number, model number, and the date of purchase. Then you know when you bought it and how long your warranty is good for.